The German Shepherd was never what breeders told you. A landmark 2025 study in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences cracked open 120 years of carefully curated breeding records, and what the DNA reveals is striking. For over a century, the story went like this. A German cavalry officer spotted a perfect herding dog, bought it on the spot, and built the most iconic breed in the world from scratch. But wolf ancestors were deliberately erased from the official record. Genetic diversity collapsed under the weight of human vanity, and the breed's modern health crisis was entirely preventable. This is the true origin of the German Shepherd. Start with the man behind the myth. Max Emil Friedrich von Stephanitz was born on December 30th, 1864, in Dresden, into German nobility. He trained as a cavalry officer, and like many in his circle, he was consumed by the idea of a perfect working dog. Across Europe in the 1850s, breeders had already been trying to standardize herding dog lineages, preserving traits suited for farm work, flock protection, and livestock management. In 1891, a group called the Phylax Society formed with the explicit goal of standardizing German dog breeds, then dissolved just 3 years later, torn apart by internal arguments over whether dogs should be bred for function or for appearance. That tension, function versus beauty, would haunt the German Shepherd for the next 130 years. On April 22, 1899, Stephanitz attended a dog exhibition and was shown a dog named Hector Lynxrhein. In his own words, the dog was untrained in his puppyhood, but nevertheless obedient to the slightest nod when at his master's side. He bought Hector immediately for 200 German gold marks, renamed him Horan von Grafrath, and that same day co-founded the Verein für Deutsche Schäferhunde with his friend Arthur Meyer. Horan became SZ number 1, the first entry in the German Shepherd studbook. Here's what the official history conveniently leaves out. Inside the original studbook, the Zuchtbuch für Deutsche Schäferhunde, between entries SZ41 and SZ76, there are 4 documented wolf crosses. 4. And Horand himself? A Frankfurt breeder named Friedrich Sparwasser had deliberately shaped him, focusing on fixing the upright ears and wolf-like body that fanciers admired. A female named Mores Plieningen, SZ number 159, who was bred directly to Horand, was the granddaughter of a wolf from the Stuttgart Zoo. Many historians now believe Horand was at least one quarter wolf. In the early 1900s, Stephanitz published a book called The German Shepherd in Word and Picture, where he asked breeders to stop incorporating pure wolves into their programs. But here's the telling detail. In later reprints of that same book, all references to wolves were removed entirely. The wolf heritage didn't just fade from memory. It was actively scrubbed from the record. As far back as 1912, a French writer named Henri Sodenkamp stated plainly in the Belgian journal Chasse et Pêche that it was the French opinion that the wolf laid the foundation of the Alsatian. The French weren't buying the sanitized version even then. Recent genetic research has added another layer to this. One study identified a popular European herding dog from the 1850s as the common ancestor of 7 well-known shepherd breeds, including the German Shepherd, the French Berger Picard, the Bergamasco Shepherd, and the Italian Can Paratore. The German Shepherd wasn't conjured from nothing. It grew from one branch of a much older shared European lineage. Every German Shepherd alive today traces back to Horand. His most successful son was Hector von Schwaben, and Hector was inbred with another of Horand's offspring to produce a dog named Beowulf, who fathered 84 puppies. Those puppies were inbred further, and from that narrow genetic base, the entire breed descends. Horand's blood flows through the veins of virtually every German Shepherd on the planet. The breed's growing popularity only accelerated this narrowing. After the First World War, a German shepherd named Rin Tin Tin, rescued from a French battlefield by an American soldier and brought to Hollywood, became one of the biggest film stars of the 1920s, appearing in over 24 Warner Brothers films. Rin Tin Tin almost single-handedly drove American demand for the breed, and the British Kennel Club had already registered the German Shepherd in 1919, cementing its global spread. More demand meant more breeding, and more breeding from a shrinking gene pool. This is where the 2025 PNAS study becomes devastating. An international team led by Dr. Lockie Skarsbrook and Professor Laurent France of the LMU Munich Paleogenomics Lab, alongside scientists at the University of Oxford and the National Institutes of Health, sequenced the genomes of 9 historical German shepherds preserved at the Natural History Museum in Bern, dogs that lived between 1906 and 1993. They compared these against modern dogs and medieval canine DNA. What they uncovered was a genetic catastrophe unfolding in slow motion. The diversity of early 20th century German shepherds was already much lower than medieval dogs, reflecting the initial bottleneck of breed formation. After 1945, everything deteriorated further. The breed suffered repeated bottlenecks, first from population crashes during and after the Second World War, then from something called the popular sire effect, where a small number of champion males were bred so relentlessly that they smothered the gene pool. The study specifically identifies Quanto van der Wienerau, a celebrated show champion whelped in 1967, as a dog whose overwhelming reproductive dominance left a measurable scar in the breed's modern genome. Quanto became the archetypal example of how one admired dog, bred without restraint, could compress the genetic future of an entire breed. The numbers tell a grim story. Historical German shepherds carried heterozygosity levels roughly 25% higher than contemporary dogs. By 1960, the proportion of identical allele pairs had reached 19% of the genome. In modern German shepherds, that figure has ballooned to 36%. Overall, the loss of genetic diversity compared to ancestral populations exceeds 90%. Professor France and Dr. Skarsbrook put it plainly: our data revealed a massive drop in the genetic diversity of German shepherds born during the latter half of the 20th century. This decline has almost certainly impacted the breed's overall health. The health consequences are widespread and well documented. The Orthopedic Foundation for Animals reports that 19.1% of German shepherds suffer from hip dysplasia, and elbow dysplasia affects a further 18.7% of the breed, 2 skeletal conditions that compound each other in working and aging dogs. Degenerative myelopathy, a progressive neurological disease that destroys the spinal cord, affects approximately 14.2% of German shepherds according to OFA data, and because it shares a genetic marker strongly linked to inbreeding, it has become one of the clearest biological signatures of the breed's collapsed diversity. Add to that a pronounced vulnerability to gastric dilatation volvulus, bloat, one of the leading causes of sudden death in large, deep-chested breeds, and the picture becomes stark. A University of Zurich study found that 45% of police-working dogs were affected by degenerative spinal stenosis. And the sloped back that dominates modern show rings? The AKC standard actually specifies a back that is straight, very strongly developed, without sag or roach. Nowhere does it call for an exaggerated slope. Yet breeders kept selecting for exactly that, forcing asymmetric movement and shifting disproportionate weight onto the front legs. The study's most damning conclusion cuts to the heart of it. Strong artificial selection and inbreeding during the second half of the 20th century, driven by aesthetic criteria rather than health or function, is responsible for the genomic decline in contemporary German shepherds. It wasn't creating the breed that broke it. It was chasing ribbons. Stephanitz had seen this coming. He spent years promoting Schutzhund, the structured working dog trials he helped develop in 1901, precisely to keep the breed anchored in utility rather than aesthetics. Schutzen tested tracking, obedience, and protection work, and he intended it as a gatekeeper. If a dog couldn't work, it shouldn't breed. The system held for a generation. Then the show ring won. Even the wolf dog experiments failed to fix things. When breeders crossed German shepherds with wolves to produce breeds like the Saarloos wolfhound and the Czechoslovakian wolf dog, genetic diversity briefly improved. But to preserve the wolf-like traits, breeders closed the gene pool again and bred related hybrids together, recreating the same bottleneck they were trying to escape. There is a path forward. The researchers recommend incorporating German shepherds from countries and bloodlines that escape the worst bottlenecks, allowing dogs to maintain purebred status while recovering health and longevity. Organizations like the Norwegian Kennel Club already recommend that no individual dog produce more than 5% of puppies registered in its breed over a 5-year period. The FCI adopted the same guideline in 2010. Max von Stephanitz died on April 22, 1936, exactly 37 years to the day after he founded the Breed Club. His motto had always been utility and intelligence. And he spent his final years watching the breed drift toward exactly what he feared, a dog selected for appearance over function. The DNA evidence now confirms what he saw coming. The German Shepherd was built from wolves and working dogs, shaped by war and ambition, and ultimately undermined not by its origins, but by the very people who claimed to love it most.